Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of HardFoul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate you for joining me today. It is a wonderful Monday. NFL football is back. So look, week one is always going to be the most overreactionary week of any season. This is true in baseball, basketball, especially football, because we only have 17 weeks. And a lot of times most teams aren't playing week 17 anyway. So people are going to give you a bunch of opinions that realistically don't matter because they are just overreacting to what they saw week one, and that's all they have to go off for this season. So what I'm going to try to do my best is these are things, as we talk about all these different games today, things that I truly believe are valid but not overreactionary. There can be signs in week one. There could be signals in week one. I don't think you can truly define a team by their week one performance, though. But these are the things that I believe are true. Let's start with Sunday Night Football. The Ravens, yes. Do they feel awful because they blew the 40-25 lead? Yes. But I think two things can be true. A, I think those are the two best teams in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. I believe that wholeheartedly. Those are the two best teams. The Ravens only lose that game, even as bad as they messed up, to the Buffalo Bills. Because you need Josh Allen to have that kind of performance. You need a Keon Coleman. That's the thing. Even with the Josh Allen performance, you need the Keon Coleman catching a deflected pass. You need the good luck fumble. Derrick Henry is, by the end of the season, Derrick Henry is going to have more 150 plus yard rushing games than he is games with a fumble in the fourth quarter. So the Ravens and the Bills, to their credit, yes, they won the game, but they can't stop Derrick Henry. It was in the regular season last year, that game, they couldn't stop Derrick Henry. They realistically couldn't even stop him in the playoffs, even though they won that game. And last night, even though they won that game, they could not stop Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry can run all over the Buffalo Bills, and that is a consistent through line whenever these two teams play. Every other team that does not have Josh Allen, the Ravens win that game. They're still dominant running the ball. Lamar is still Lamar, making spectacular plays. The one where he's 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage and they score 2 plays later, or on the very next play, he turns that 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage into a 10-yard gain. They are just a extremely, extremely talented and elite team. So I don't think the Ravens are, I'm not here to panic about them. I'm not here to overstress. Remember, they started 0-2 last year, and they were still one of the best teams in the NFL by the time season's end. And they still comfortably won their division, and I still believe that to be true again. They will comfortably win the AFC North again, despite being 0-1. What they do need, though, is Lamar needs to win one of these games. Harbaugh needs to win one of these games, just so they have that comfort level of, can we execute in these situations? Do I believe this is a really big problem? No, because I believe throughout the course of a season, your talent, your skill, how great of a team you are, I think that will show out more than just losing a bad week one game. So Derrick Henry's still great. Lamar's still great. Zay Flowers showed out. He's continuing to improve. I still believe in Harbaugh. Like this defense, Kyle Hamilton, the guys who need to be great for the Ravens throughout the season to be a great team, all played great last night. Again, the Derrick Henry fumble, I'm not going to put a whole lot on. If you tell me Derrick Henry in year 12, 13 is going to start having a hardcore fumbling problem, I don't believe it. But if you think that's what it's going to take to beat the Ravens, good luck. Not a lot of teams are going to beat them then. To the Bills part of it, this is why Josh Allen was the MVP last year. Now, while I disagree with it, it's really just why he is a great player. The Bills, again, could not stop Derrick Henry on defense. The only way they were going to win that game is Josh Allen had to be spectacular, and they had to catch one break. And if you give a guy, Mahomes, Allen, historically other great quarterbacks, you give them that one break, they take advantage of it, and they break your heart. So while I believe, again, this is a compliment to Josh Allen's greatness. And even though I didn't believe that, I thought Lamar should have been the MVP because They were showing their stats all week leading up into the game, and Josh had great stats. Lamar was otherworldly. And even in that game yesterday, it felt like Lamar was otherworldly for 3.5 quarters, but Josh just needed that one break. He gets that fumble. Yes, he gets, you could argue it's 2, but he gets really the fumble being the big break. He gets the bobbled pass that Keon Coleman still catches. But all-time great quarterbacks, which Josh Allen is one of, they just need 1 or 2 things to go their way, and they will break your heart, and that's what he did last night to the Baltimore Ravens. Should we panic about the Ravens? Do we suddenly think the Ravens are a bad football team? Should we think that the Ravens are now suddenly they just can never win a big game? Was it not a big game last year when they went into Buffalo and they rocked them? And again, the things the Ravens did great last night, I think are 1,000% repeatable. Lamar is going to be great on a week-in, week-out basis. Derrick Henry is going to be great on a week-in, week-out basis. Zay Flowers looks like he is ready to be really good on a week-in, week-out basis. The guys on defense, Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton. Now, am I a little concerned that they had lack of a pass rush? To a degree, but Buffalo's got one of the best offensive lines in football, so not getting to Josh Allen that's par for the course. They don't invest. If you look at Buffalo's salary cap, they're invested in their offensive line. Like Coleman's still on a rookie deal. They obviously are to Stephon Diggs. So where Buffalo invested and where they want to be great and where they're supposed to be great is their offensive line and keeping Josh Allen clean. Now he's going to run and he's going to involve hits that way, but that's what Buffalo's strength is. So again, not having a great pass rush against the Bills, that's just going to be kind of par for the course throughout the season. Any team playing the Buffalo Bills, even if you've got great pass rushers, like if they play the Texans with Hunter and Anderson, they're going to have trouble getting to the Bills because they have great tackles. They got a great offensive line. James Cook is a good blocking running back. So again, 2 things can be true. The Ravens are going to be fine, but Josh Allen, if you just give him that one little bit, he can use that and he can break your heart. And he handed the Ravens a heartbreaking loss in week 1. Moving on to the Friday night game. Chiefs-Chargers in Brazil. I don't know how anybody can now keep defending this. And this is not a week 1 overreach. This is a consistent through-line theme that we've had on the Chiefs now for 2 years. The days of this being a great offense are flat out over. Is Mahomes still going to be special? Yes. The throw he made where he was a few inches off the ground and still completed it, was that incredible? Yes, because Mahomes individually is still incredible. But this offense we've seen, it now feels like the league has seen all of the Andy Reid specialties, the fastball, the surprises, the weird formation. The league has seen all of it now. There's not enough new ripples where this offense is able to be explosive or be overly creative, or they're just out scheming you. Andy Reid is still a great head coach, but that uniqueness that he brought with those first couple years of Patrick Mahomes, you just don't see it on a play-by-play or a game-by-game basis anymore. This team has turned into a defensive-heavy offense, just make enough plays to win games. And here's the thing, and I realized this as I was watching the game. And the Chiefs fans and their most famous fan, who can be quite annoying, feels like they don't get enough respect. That it would almost be more, we would think higher of the Chiefs if they were a high-scoring offense and their defense was terrible, but they were still winning games, versus being a great defense winning games and a so-so offense. And respect might not be the right word, because I've always contested that in general, sports fans don't want to play kiss the ring. And so no one's really excited for your team to build a dynasty, right? Because we all want our own teams to win. You know who was not a very celebrated dynasty? The San Antonio Spurs. They were seen as boring. They didn't get super high ratings. They just were not a fun team to watch, which is why in comparison, there were more ratings. It was more fun to watch when we went from the Spurs to what I call the Spurs 2.0 in the Warriors. Steve Kerr's system, very similar to Greg Popovich, which wasn't very exciting with Greg because it was weird to call him Greg. Wasn't very excited with Pop when he had Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, and it felt more schemed than player. But when I took that same system, revamped it up a little bit, and I put Steph Curry, who's making all these threes, Klay Thompson, who's shooting all these threes, Draymond, who, say what you want, very polarizing Draymond Green, and then eventually even threw in Kevin Durant. The Spurs to the Warriors were exciting. The Warriors were fun to watch. The Chiefs they started as the Warriors. They have now turned into the Spurs. Yes, Travis Kelce is still going to be able to make a handful of plays. Now, do I think he is the player he was 3-4 years ago? Absolutely not. And so you're going to see a lot more games like in Brazil where you have a couple of plays where Travis Kelce can still make an imprint, but it's now, instead of 9-10 plays a game where you have to worry about Travis Kelce, 4 to 5 plays a game you got to worry about Travis Kelce. Maybe 6 because, he's hurting his own teammates out here. But the explosive, the fun, the creative offense that they were, which was the Golden State Warriors, they are now more the San Antonio Spurs. Should you respect both? Yeah, to a degree. But the viewership numbers, the way we looked at that team, the Spurs weren't exciting. Tim Duncan's the big fundamental. Go find a Tim Duncan highlight clip on YouTube. And Tim Duncan's one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Definitive top 10, you could argue for top 5. Duncan was amazing. 5 championships, had all that. But nobody during Duncan's time in the league was like, Kobe was more exciting. Shaq was more exciting. You could argue Dirk was more exciting. KG. And you could argue Duncan was better than all of them. But we enjoyed watching. There's a reason we loved the Showtime Lakers, the Kobe Shaq Lakers, the Heatles, what the Warriors were. Those are more exciting teams to watch, even if they weren't your team winning. And so the Chiefs have just transitioned from they were the Warriors, they are now the Spurs. And guess what? The Spurs, and this weird parallel, but hear me out. The Spurs never won back-to-back. Because the Spurs, what they were so great at, and this is something that early New England was great at too, they made sure they did not lose the game, but they couldn't necessarily just beat you down. The Warriors could just beat you down, just hit boom, 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 hit you 15, 20, almost 33s in a game. They could just go crazy in the third. The third quarter runs for the Warriors were legendary. The Spurs were going to beat you by being good in the first quarter, good in the second quarter, good in the third quarter, good in the fourth quarter, and if you had a bad quarter, that was their separation. And this Chiefs team, last year, the year prior, and even in week 1, what it seemed like they tried to do, they just wanted to be good in the first, good in the second, good in the third, good in the fourth. And they kind of wait for you to have your bad quarter, and that's what they capitalize on. Look what they did last season. Blocked field goals, fumbled snaps, 1 or 2 plays, all these close wins, all these tight games. And is that going to be enough for them to get back to where they want to be? And I think there's real trouble here because you could start 0-2. If you told me the Chiefs play the Eagles and they lose to the Eagles, that's a real possibility. Even though the game's in Kansas City. I think they'll beat the Giants, but then week 4 they play the Ravens. Could the Chiefs be looking at a 1-3 start? I don't know, man. They're going to say I'm a hater. It is what it is. I mean, if you want to be a part of one of the coolest, most unique communities, don't forget to like and subscribe.